I'm Holly from Salonology, and when I had my spa, I used Timely appointment booking software. I loved their innovative features, which helped me to deliver an exceptional client experience, build a booming and busy business, and give me the freedom to run my salon how I wanted. Their UK-based support team were always there to help with my needs, but what wasn't there was long-term contracts or hidden fees. As one of our listeners, you can exclusively enjoy 50% off Timely for your first 3 months when you go to www.gettimely.com and use the promo code Salonology. I'm Holly Power, and I recommend Timely appointment booking software.
I'm Pete Scott, and you're listening to the Salonology Show.
Welcome to the Salonology Show, and today we have a very special guest joining us. Someone who, if you take action on what he is going to tell you about today, could transform your business and maybe even your life entirely. Why waste your time selling £50 products when you could be selling transformations to the same people for thousands? Starting life out as a personal trainer, he then moved on to the cruise ships with Steiner Leisure, eventually outselling all of those around him many, many times over. For the past 6 years, he's ran his own sales training businesses, most recently the Ultimate Sales Academy, and helped thousands of business owners of all kinds to increase their confidence with sales, changing the way they approach selling, and tap into the power of transformational selling. He is the king of the slothies, the go-to expert for our industry, and very much a friend of Salonology. Welcome to the Salonology Show, Pete Scott.
Woohoo!
How do I follow? Hi, Holly. Hey, Ryan, how's it going? Where do we go from here? We're done, right?
we are done.
It's all an anticlimax from now. That was quite the intro. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
That's my favourite bit.
King of the slot. We will come to that in due course, because there will be some
I'm going to
people.
change that on my Facebook.
It needs to be on your business card, Pete, not just on your Facebook. I'm imagining, like from Madagascar.
Oh, yeah.
That sort of scene of just Pete in this sea of slothies dancing.
We can do that.
I
think
don't give him ideas. This is the sort of thing that you're now going to see on social media.
That's what we have a team for now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Animated dance off. Excellent.
The Lion King, the Slothy King. That's all.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Who doesn't love the sloth? Right, Pete, hello. Hello. Now, before we dive right into the heavy stuff, we like to begin with something a little more fun. Now, we like to ask these same questions to all of our guests to get to know them a little bit better. So we've got 10 quick fire questions for you. Sound good?
Drum roll. I'm ready.
Ready.
I had no idea this was going to happen, but yes, let's do it.
That's what we like. Off the cuff.
Yeah.
Number 1, Facebook or Instagram?
Facebook.
New York or Las Vegas?
New York.
What do you have on your chip shop chips?
Salt and vinegar.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Oh.
Salt otherwise.
Tea or coffee?
Coffee, all the way.
Apple or Android?
Apple.
Early bird or night owl?
Early bird, all the way. Apart from last night, I couldn't sleep. Weird.
What in our industry annoys you the most?
I think it's that's a good question. Well, I think we have to relate back to what I help with, which is knowing that we can help clients on a much deeper level, and knowing that we let them leave. Like literally, there's a client in front of you, and knowing that you can transform the skin, you can help them over 6 months, and you go, okay, do you want to come in for another treatment? And that's as far as it goes. That's kind of a bugbear of mine.
Something you can fix. I love that. If you could cameo on any TV show, which would you join?
That's a very good question. I'm so not a TV person. What have I watched that I've enjoyed? Have you heard of Adresco? That's a cartoon. It's like an Asian cartoon. It's on Netflix. I highly recommend. And I'd love to be a part of that TV show.
Would you be animated?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh,
and
that
I'd
would be
be in the
awesome.
karaoke as well.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Doing the heavy metal.
Excellent. And if you could get on a plane right now, Pete, where would you be going?
I would be going to New York.
Excellent.
Most definitely New York. I love New York.
Especially as this is being filmed in winter, New York at Christmas and all those good things.
Yeah.
I must say, I think that you probably took those questions and the answering them, Pete, more seriously than any other guest we've ever had so far. It was like you were on Mastermind, taking it really seriously. So we do appreciate the effort there.
So I just wanted to make sure I showed up for you guys. I know this is important.
Exactly.
We appreciate it a lot. Look, we're super excited to have you on today, Pete, not least because Holly and I, we've both got a sales background. So we love talking about sales and the subject of it. Although it's probably fair to say not everyone shares our same passion for sales. But tell us a little bit about how you kind of got started in it, because yeah, as I mentioned in the introduction there, it certainly wasn't all doing sales for you, was it?
No. So I actually started in sales working in my dad's music shop. So from the age of 6, my dad had me, well, instead of playing guitars and keyboards and drums, which is what every 6-year-old would want to do, he had me dusting, cleaning, changing guitar strings. And then I got promoted to the shop floor where I was actually selling the guitars. And I think I sold my first guitar amp. And my dad taught me little things about upsells. So he'd say you make the money when you don't sell the guitar, that you also sell a set of strings with it and make sure they've got some plectrums. And so that was like my first intro. And I probably sold my first guitar because I was a cute 12-year-old, not because I knew anything about sales.
Yeah.
But where I really got into sales was, as you mentioned, Ryan, when I first went to work on cruise ships, I was 21 at push. And so this is going back 20 years, which is just madness. But I thought I was going to work as a personal trainer and that I would just be doing sit and get fit and helping people to do walk a mile classes. And I remember arriving in the Skaggers, Alaska. So took a 24-hour flight, changed in Chicago, almost got kicked out of the country in Chicago when I didn't have the right paperwork. And it's pretty intimidating for a 20-year-old. Just like, I'm meant to join a cruise ship. They're like, no, you're not. You're going to leave the country. So it's like police with guns. But they let me through, and I walked up the gangway of the cruise ship, and the manager looked at me and he said, what's your revenue like? And I remember saying, revenue, literally I had my suitcase with me, and he went, what's your revenue like? And I said, I don't know what you mean. This is my first contract. He said, and he literally turned off in a bad mood. He went, I need like $10,000 or something ridiculous from you this week. And my first week I did $6. So I came up $9,994 short of my sales target because I didn't know anything about sales. And I massively succeeded in failing for the first probably 3-4 months of my contract. And it was an invaluable lesson because being that bad at sales, I had all and the funny thing is I thought I had, because I was confident, I could get fully booked with consultations. In fact, I booked 22 consultations, I think, in one day, and didn't sell a single thing to a single person because I had no idea on the art and science required behind it, how to communicate and influence in a positive way. And also, which I'll talk about later, I'm sure we'll have the chance, I was selling the wrong thing. I was selling the consultation, not the outcome that they were trying to achieve. And yeah, kind of very long story short, my manager sat me down and said, you know, you're pretty much bottom of the company and we're sending you home in 2 weeks unless you turn your performance around. And that was my first valuable insight into I really need to kind of get this together. I just had a leaving party a couple of months earlier, had 100 of my friends there. I don't have 100 friends anymore, apart from you guys. But I couldn't fly all the way back from Alaska, kind of failing in my first role. So I did everything that I could from the psychology, philosophy, sales, strategies. I surrounded myself with, and I started asking questions to the high performers in the business as well. And I started to get some really good answers. And that's where things started to turn around for me.
I love that. Just picking up on that last thing you said when you started hearing about from the other peak performers, because I remember similar for me as well. As I mentioned earlier, we both come, Holly and I, from a sales background. And in a previous life for me, I used to sell mortgages. And I remember I was not very good at it at the start, not very good by any stretch of the imagination. And what I did to get better is I worked out who the best person was. And I asked them what they were doing that I wasn't doing, which was resulting in them making sales. And I just kept listening to their calls because it was on the telephone. I just kept listening. And then I just copied what they were doing. And
great,
sure,
right?
As light as day, sure as day follows night, it was all of a sudden my results got better and better and better and better, just purely by finding out someone who had the result that I wanted, asking them how they did it, and then copying them, And it sounds like you took a similar initial first step, shall we say?
100%. And you have to, don't you? It's because it's just too painful to not be able to. And the funny thing is that we're always selling. And even when we think, and this is, I've seen this with a lot with therapists. Actually, you asked me about what bugs me about the industry the most, and I've got a different answer for you now. It's when therapists say that they can't sell, but what they don't realize is that in that moment they're actually selling. They're selling the fact that they can't sell. It's the problem is that it doesn't pay anything. So I can't sell. And you're like, you can sell. You're like, no, I can't sell. You're like, you're selling right now. You're selling the fact that you can't sell. And you're trying to convince me that you can't sell. And you're doing a really good job. Whereas, as Ryan, you'll know this already, and Holly yourself, because your background's in sales too, when we really get down to it, sales, it's got a bad rap. We believe it's a dirty word. It's something that we when we think of a salesperson, we visualize a 1997 secondhand car salesperson, or maybe mortgage advisor. Just kidding. We're in 2020 going into 2021. It's really about having empathy, connecting with somebody, and truly helping them as much as you can, and influencing them to make the decision that's right for them. And whether that's your product, your solution, or not, that's all to be figured out in the process, isn't it? But yeah, definitely just going back to that, like finding those people who are successful and just obsessing over that, because it is a process. Once you have a process that works, then you can rinse and repeat that process over and over again. If I was to go back on a cruise ship, well, not right now with COVID, but if I was to go back on a cruise ship tomorrow, as an example, as a personal trainer, I would still be able to perform at the same level, if not more, because I still know the process that I learned 15, 20 years ago. And that's a great thing about it is it's like riding a bike or learning a sport. You can, if you're not played basketball but you're a basketball player, you can get back on the court and shoot hoops. You might be a bit rusty, but you just follow the process. But it's what's much more difficult is when we resist all of those processes, and we're trying to do our own way, and not having any. We don't know what works and what doesn't work, and then we accidentally make a sale. We don't know how it worked, and then we can't repeat it, and that can be frustrating. And that's where I find the majority of the industry kind of gets stuck, is in that place.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Let's go back a minute. So you went from selling $6 to finding out some of the things that work, but then by the time you left to then eventually go your own way, you were, because I remember, and you've told me this in the past, you were very much top of the tree and you were outselling everyone. And was it at that point then that you realized, actually, I want to do this for myself? Or did you just have enough of working the ships after a certain point in time?
That's a good question. So I remember I was turning 30 and I thought I'll either do this for another 10 years and basically be in a situation where I can pay off a mortgage and live for free, completely financially free by the time I'm 40, and have plenty of money in the bank, or I'm done now. And there's this whole terminology I've been using a lot, which is a 9-ender. So when you're 29, 39, 49, so right now I'm 39, you start to make quite different life decisions. And so at 29, that was a decision to get done with ships. I'm like, okay, I'm done. Funnily enough, the girlfriend I had at the time, she was actually more done with cruise ships than I was. She was a singer. And I was like, no, I'll stick, I'm happy to stay on for, and do another 5-10 years. And so she said, no, let's move to London. And we broke up within 4 months of moving to London. She went back on ships and I stayed in London. It's just funny how it works, right? But yeah, I remember the first time that I was actually asked, it wasn't an immediate increase. I mean, I started doing well enough to not lose my job. And my first contract was pretty messy, but I went to kind of middle of the table. It certainly wasn't a bottom to top of the company in 6 months kind of story. It took time. But when I started doing well, my manager said to me, Pete, you're outperforming the entire team. Just your retail sales alone is more than 18 in the entire team put together. So can you train them? And I'd never had any background in training at all. So I got the team together and I did a little training session. It was about an hour. I remember what I said to them, which was quite straightforward. I believe everybody is a yes, and that's why they buy. And you believe everyone's a no, and you have to convince them to be a yes. But when you're starting from no, it's a really difficult place. And that was it. And the following day, they went on and had the best day in the like history of that cruise ship, which is really cool. And they put it down to the training, and then I fell in love with training. And that's why I'm like, I'm going to go and do this for myself and move to London.
Love it. And actually, how many times do we all still hear that exact thing where exactly as you just said, with the people saying, oh, I can't sell, I'm no good at sales. And I think so many people in the salon world will have heard that from their staff over and over and over and over again, because they are terrified of it in many ways, and we will come on to that. Just to bring your story up to speed, then Pete. So as I mentioned at the start, you've obviously now do this for a living, with training everyone with your Ultimate Sales Academy, and it's not just salon owners, but you focus a lot on the salon owner world and community, right? And then last year you did something that was rather, how can I phrase this? I guess bonkers would probably be the best word for it. And you went on the road and you visited 100 different businesses in 30 days. Now, my math, it's been a while since I did A-level maths, but I think that's about 3 a day, which seems like an awful lot. So why would a sane man do such a thing?
I think it's the fact is that when you really look at why you do what you do, and you get to the root of it, it's about helping people. And it can be, I get it, it can be frustrating if the market isn't coming to you, if your ideal client isn't walking in the door. And you can do every course, as we know, on how to find your perfect client avatar. But the reality is you've just got to get out there and start helping people. And I'd been able to create, a fair amount of success working in the corporate sector. So when I left cruise ships, I started helping companies. So I was helping big companies like American Express, Rolls-Royce, and it just started with one and then the next one. And all of a sudden I'm flying to places like Ghana, Milan, New York, all over the world. I did that for 8 years, and that was unreal. But I really wanted to have a platform where I could help small business owners, experts in their field who may struggle to sell their expertise, and salons are obviously a huge part of that. And and I remember I actually I was in Thailand by myself for a week, and this was May 2019, and I was like, I just want to do something that the rest of the industry hasn't got the courage to do. Like, no other business mentor is going to have, can I say, balls?
You can say that, yeah.
Yeah, no other business mentor is going to go to the marketplace. And that to me is the ultimate level of like, hey, listen, I'm not going to tell you that I can help you. I'm actually going to show up and I'm going to help you. And that to me was it's funny because I remember sitting outside this little Thai traditional type apartment on the balcony. And for some reason I got the number 6 in my mind. I said, I'm going to help 6 companies. I'm going to document it. And then within 8 seconds, I went, why not 100? And then that was it. And there was no how. The how was all figured out later. And we didn't get around 100. We actually got around 62. But we traveled all the way up to Inverness. We traveled 3,250 miles with Slothy. And now Slothy's become a whole brand in himself. And also to add, Ryan, as well, I did Zoom training every night for 30 evenings, 2 hours Zoom training. We took like one evening off because everyone needed a rest. And that was between driving. So check in an Airbnb, set up the laptop, and then go for it with a Zoom hangout, a Q&A. And then every morning at 7:30 was an accountability session. So it was complete. And I just said to everyone, look, at the end of the day, I'm going to be here for your business every day. So don't let me care more about your business than you do. So it's a little bit naughty of me to say that. But people took that in a really positive way. They're like, wow, this guy's going to be here every day, so I'll show up. And I had phone calls from other business mentors, coaches, and literally saying, why are you doing this? It's mad. You should be charging for it, so I did it for free. You shouldn't work weekends, and all these things I shouldn't be doing. You shouldn't do more than a 5-day thing because everyone will drop off. We still had 92 people show up on day 30. So we just broke all the rules of kind of standard marketing. And then as a result, had 37 members in the academy, which was amazing as well.
Well, absolutely. I think there's a lot to be said for looking at rules and then trying to work out how you can break them. And whilst I did indeed call you bonkers, I think was all I described just a moment ago, I say that, of course, in jest. And in fact, I remember you and I having a conversation in your flat, and you said to me, you should try and do something that no one else would be prepared to do. And I guess that was kind of drinking your own Kool-Aid in that respect, because what you did was clearly something that I've not seen anyone else do that. And I can tell you this, I'm not about to do it. That's for sure.
Especially right now.
No, especially not right now. No, exactly. Yeah. So I think that is looking at things. And again, I think this is a good lesson for business all round, looking at the way other people do things and then trying to do it in a different way or the opposite way, or a way that people do think is mad, is ultimately going to get you attention. And attention is one of the currencies of the 21st century, possibly the most valuable currencies, especially online. You mentioned in there the mascot, the sloth. I don't think we can have a conversation without mentioning Slothy. What the hell are they all about, Pete? What is going on with the sloths? So anyone who is, especially anyone that's new to you, you get followed everywhere with a band of sloths. Like,
I'll show you around. Like, we've got a Slothy sledge up here, just up here.
Of course.
Slothy sledge, flying high as Christmas while we were doing this. Yeah. Slothy swing. This in the office. Yeah. So, do you want the logical story, or just want to hear it as it is?
I think we want to hear it as it is.
So Slothy isn't meant to make sense, and that's okay. It's quite funny the number of people that will message me and they'll say, "I love what you do, but I just don't get the sloths." Or they might even say, just outright, "I don't get why you have these sloths." I've even changed my name to Pete Sloth on Facebook. So if you look me up on Facebook, Pete Sloth, not Pete Scott. But that's the whole point. That's it. Again, you mentioned one of the currencies of the 21st century is attention, and finding your blue ocean in what you do, and also not being afraid to have fun. And if you'd have met me, well, you did actually meet me 4 or 5 years ago, and I was suited and booted, going into corporate suit tie for every training day. I went to a little tanning salon in Essex, and I wore suit and tie to do training for them. And like today, I'm in my sweatpants and chilled, and we've got an office full of slothies. My team, who are actually working from home today, we have a PlayStation here, so my team are like normally playing PlayStation at like 9 a.m, as long as we get the work done. But with Slothy, what he's really been able to do for the brand is that sales is a necessary evil. It's one of those things that we know that we need to have in our business. And if you listen to this now and you consider what would change over the next 12 months if you were totally on top of your sales and you knew that you could create, not, as Ryan said in the introduction, not just try and sell products and pitch products, but actually you could sell skin transformation and sell that at say $2,000, $3,000, and do it far more easily than trying to, because pitching products is tough. That is a tough game. If you want to be walking in after a treatment with holding with a tray full of products saying, I use this on your skin today, that is the hardest sell of all, because you've just gone from super relaxed to super awkward. Because in human interaction, it's about connectivity, it's about flow, and going from that really comfortable to uncomfortable isn't good. And yeah, so getting back to the whole thing with Slothy, it is just round the houses there. But going back to the whole thing with Slothy is that Slothy came about purely by accident, but at the same time, what he does is he softens the message of sales. So I have a lot of people who have started to follow me over the last kind of couple of years, especially, and they'll actually say, Pete, I just followed you because you do these crazy videos with these slothies. We've even got animated videos now, and I've been abducted by slothies in the middle of a Facebook Live. Everyone asks how we do that. Like, how do you get abducted? I'm in the middle of a Facebook Live, and then there'll be like lights on the screen. I go up into a UFO, and there's slothies there, and they're taking over. But what it does is that it's about edutainment. It's about education, entertainment, bringing the two together. Because as I don't ever want to be a training company, really a media company that teaches sales and allows people to kind of forget. And that's one of the very powerful laws of influence, is to allow people to forget. And when people are attached to it's icky, it's sales, I don't want to go there, you can't. They may miss that magic of what they can do in their business. And by having fun with it and being lighthearted with it and having Slothy around for everything. And the funny thing is that we just onboarded a lot of members for the academy, which is great. So we sent out like 30 sloths just last week. And I feel like, because I'm always like, guys, to my team, I'm like, we've got to make sure we show up and deliver, the customer service and make sure everyone's happy and onboarded. And when I reach out to these new members who've just invested a lot of money to join, I'm like, are you good? They're like, yeah, I got my stuff. I'm great.
That's the most important thing. Yeah.
They've named their slothy, everything. It's so funny.
I love all of that. And again, what you were saying there about about the disconnect from where people go from having a relaxing treatment to being offered, maybe not in the best way, a product to purchase. For anyone who is listening and thinks, that sounds like our current sales procedure, what would be the first steps that someone would take, apart from presumably to contact you, in addressing that so that isn't the way they approach it moving forward? What's a couple of sort of practical steps that you think that someone could take?
Straightforward as possible. People buy what you sell. So if you sell relaxation, you will only ever get what relaxation pays. I don't know about for Holly, Ryan, what you guys pay to relax for an hour. For me, I'll probably pay £50, £150 if I'm feeling really generous. But the reality is as a salon, you're always going to be chasing that next £50 sale. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I'm quite controversial in the sense that I say I see that there's a big emphasis on being fully booked in the industry. I don't believe that should be a measure. It's about being known for something. And so the way that we can do this and make it very pragmatic is saying, okay, if money was no object, what would you do for your client? How much would you help them? How long would you help them for? What would that journey look like? What support would you give them? We're in a world today where we've got technology. So as a salon owner, as a beauty therapist, you can not only help your client through products and services, you can help them through a Zoom community where maybe you have your transformation clients who all meet up once a week or once a month even. But the reality is that I can almost guarantee for everybody listening to this, you've all had a moment or several moments where you've known that you can help your clients more. And if you can answer that one question, if money was no object, like literally, if my client paid me £20,000, I'm not saying that you're going to sell at that level. And if somebody walked into your business tomorrow and said, here's £25,000, help me, what would you do? Would you be ready? And if you can answer that question, the whole game changes. So you move from the transactional game of selling, which is extremely tough. And I hate that game of selling. Transactional selling is trying to sell another product. And most salons, what they do is they incentivize and give commission based upon the products sold. So your job is, Ryan or Holly, is to sell 10 products this month. Try and sell 3 products today. But it emphasizes on the wrong thing. It emphasizes on selling a box and a cream. Now, I don't know about you, like for my mum, she has a whole bathroom cupboard full of products that she's never used because she buys one-off products, which don't do anything. But the reality is that if your client spends 80 quid or £2,000, which one will help them more? And that's when it starts to become quite obvious that if they invest, not even say £2,000, let's say they invest £1,000, but they invest £1,000, it becomes obvious that actually I can actually help them and I can serve them properly. So that would be my first advice, is know that everybody's a yes, because we talked about that already. That's the first thing. Don't worry about people being a no. And I don't mean we just throw the product in front of them and say, you're a yes, buy it. What I mean from that is that if everyone's, we shouldn't be feeling we have to convince people. That's a tough game. It's like dating, isn't it? Yeah, I always wondered when I was younger why the girls that I didn't fancy always were like texting me. This is like back in Nokia 3210 days or whatever it was, 8210 I had, the small one. And so the girls that I didn't really fancy, they wouldn't leave me alone. But the girls I really liked didn't want to know me. And I was like, I actually had this joke that the universe was out to get me, and that whenever I met someone I really liked, that they were specifically like wouldn't like me. But what I didn't realize, which I now in reflection, many, many years later, it wasn't them, it was me. I changed. I went from, I didn't really care with a girl that I wasn't interested in. I was like, I could take or leave it. So I was kind of cool around her. But then as soon as I met a girl that I liked, I'd be leaving her Christmas presents on her doorstep and texting back 20 times, or wondering why she didn't text back for 3 hours and being like, send the TB, text back. Do you remember at the end of text messages we used to do? Text back, make sure you text back. Make sure. And so you just so it's the same in sales. It's exactly the same game. It's exactly the same thing. And you just want to move to that place where you feel so calm and so like excited to help someone. And it's really profound when you're sat with someone and you say, look, do you want to relax or do you want better skin? Or do you want both? Great, you want both. Okay, let's help you feel relaxed today. But if you want better skin, that's another conversation. I'd love to have that conversation with you, but not now. Let's enjoy your treatment. And then what we can do is we can flesh it out maybe at the end of the treatment. Will that be okay? That's it. That's all it is.
Yeah, I think there's such an attachment to sales, isn't there, in our industry? Because people think they think it's going from, I'm going to give you a massage or a beautiful facial, and then I've got this feeling that I have to make you buy something, and that's really scary for me, and I'm not trained to sell, so that's terrifying, and I'm not going to do it. What would you recommend, Pete? We've got a lot of people in our community who have got staff, and they really, really struggle to get their team into the mindset and the mentality of selling. How would you say they could motivate their team? What could they do simply and easily? One trick that would help their team to transition from that fear to that place of natural sales?
First of all, bring the team together. Have a training session with them, 60 minutes. Don't preach to them. Get them to run the training. And ask them the simple question, which helps your client more? Is it A, when they invest £50, or is it B, when they invest £1,000? And then put them into teams, depending on how big your salon is. If you've got 3 in your team, it might be to be 1 team. If you've got 12, then it might be 3 teams of 4. And get them to rotate with a flip chart. Get them up. So you need whiteboard, you need flip chart, magic whiteboard or whatever, and then get the team listing down all the things they could do for a client if they invested just £50 versus if they invested £1,000, and then have the team tell you how great it feels when the client invests properly. Start there. And then what you do is you take your 1 or 2 top performers. This is difficult if you've only got 2 in your team. But if you've got a larger team, you take your 1 or 2 top performers and you say to the team at the end of that training, right, so we're not going to ask all of you to do this, that where you're selling £1,000 straight away, because then the vast majority are not going to get it straight away, and they're not meant to. They might be at the beginning of their career, they might be 21 years old or 41 years old, but they won't have the confidence just to step into that role straight away. But if you've got somebody who really embraces it straight away, so you say, right, I only want Sally and Stephen. Just those 2 team members, because they're your top performers. You know they're going to buy into it, and you know they're going to give it. So Sally and Stephen, for the next 2 weeks, you are going to look to sell the transformation, not just sell a product. And then in 2 weeks, you bring the whole team back together again, and you get Stephen and Sally to run the training and just share their experience of actually, and they'll share very easily, hey, it was so much easier. Like, it's so much easier. Because once you make your first £1,000 sale, you never go back, ever.
No, I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's very interesting, actually, because I think, as you said, Holly, there, one of the issues, I think, is where it comes from the top, and the salon owner has probably already had it drummed into them or read it somewhere, right? They've got to be doing X, you've got to have X volume of retail that goes across with Y number of sales.
It's the wrong measure.
Absolutely. And because that's coming down from the top in the business in the first place, straight away, that's then what they're all being judged on. And they're kind of almost going to fail before they've even began in many ways.
You're not even, this is a funny thing. So one of the things that I teach very specifically, and I'm very meticulous about this, never show the product, ever. Because the moment you show the product, you're actually presenting a problem, and the attention moves away from helping the individual in front of you to, hey, I've got this thing in a box that I want you to buy. And it only becomes as valuable as the box and the cream within it. And you might say, well, the cream does this and it does that. And as you can tell, I'm not a beauty therapist. Like, I don't have my background's personal training, although I was a spa manager and managing millions of dollars of revenue every year, but I've not been in the treatment room, so to speak. But I've helped, as you mentioned, Ryan, thousands of therapists to really significantly transform their sales. And if you ask me, and I teach this, if you ask me to walk in a room and hold a product up and say, this is what I use, blah, 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 I would fall apart myself. It's just, because it's not natural. It's not real. You see, what you do, you sell the outcome. So, Holly, it's so great that you're here. Your skin looks amazing. Hope you enjoyed the treatment.
Thanks, Pete.
That's my pleasure. So you mentioned at the beginning that you were looking to have this skin transformation. And by the way, whatever I share with you now, I want you to know that it's your decision whether you say yes or no. Okay, so you can tell me no, it's okay. But for me to be within my integrity, and the fact that you've mentioned, and it's also in the consultation form, that you want to transform your skin or have this significant change, I want to share exactly what I would recommend for you. Will that be okay? Done. So, Holly, you mentioned in 6 months, this is where you'd like to be. So you're selling the outcome in 6 months, X, Y, Z. And Holly will be like, yep, absolutely. And then from there, I'm going to ask the right questions, because you have to ask powerful questions, because you've got to be able to get your client to think about themselves and learn something about themselves that they didn't already know. You see, one of the another bugbear about the industry that I didn't think of is that most therapists only teach what the client already knows. Drink more water. Duh. We all know we should drink more water, but how many treatments have you had in your life where the recommendation at the end, make sure you drink water? No, I was actually going to go and get a bottle of vodka, right? We know already. What sells is when you educate me in a way, you teach me something not about your product. Who cares about your product? Your client doesn't care about your product. Doesn't care that it comes from, that is extracted from a lake on the 3rd semester of the reindeer jumping over the moon, and that it's on an iPad presentation. Because I've seen product houses teach sales this way, and it's horrendous because it's so unnatural. It's not a conversation. It's a pitch. And it's all about the arrogance, excuse the terminology, it's all about the arrogance of the product house. We've got this amazing product. Who cares? It's we're like 21st century. People have got choice. They can go to, sure enough, we can say, oh, my clients can go on Amazon or they can go on to Boots or whatever. Well, that's right, they can, but they're not paying for that with you. They're paying for you to help them make that significant change, and they're paying for you to be a trusted expert, because people buy from experts. They don't buy from employees. So when you step into that space, and by the way, an expert's not going to charge £50. An expert's going to say, look, let's help you create this transformation. And so in order to move forward with that, this is what I need you to do over the next 6 months. Holly, if it's not for you, it's 100% okay. And sure enough, I guarantee this isn't in your budget. You probably came here today and you thought, I'm going to have an £80 treatment, maybe buy a product. However, what we've mentioned is this other conversation where you've been struggling with this, you mentioned, for 5 years when it comes to your skin, and you don't want to go another 5 years like it. So this is, without any attachment, this is what I'd recommend. And in order for you to move forward with that is $2,500 to get everything you need. But I'll leave that with you now. So would you like a drink of water? Okay, great.
Yeah.
So it's just done.
Love that.
Yeah.
I mean,
absolutely love that. There's some real gold there.
It really, really is. And let's not just take away from the fact as well, like the versus, the results that you're going to get, not just physically for your client, but also for your therapist. If they go and sell a £50 product or a £25 product or whatever, and you're saying, well, I'm going to incentivize you by getting 10% commission. Well, if you go and sell a £25 product, that's £2.50. And then it goes in your pay packet. So it goes through your wages, and you're going to end up with £1.80 in 4 weeks' time when your pay packet comes through. So if you're standing there and you've got to go through this really cringy, difficult moment for £1.80 that you're going to get in 4 weeks' time, there's just no motivation.
Resistance.
And it's like, what is going to make that person want to do it? So what would you say, Pete, would be like a way that you could motivate them to want to go and sell these packages beyond the, I'm doing a good job? Would you say financial motivation is what gets people ticking? Would you say it's more opportunities, training, gifts? What sort of thing would you say you've seen as being successful?
I think starts off with the significant purpose that you're actually making a difference in the client's life. Lots of education around that. Weekly sales training is a must in the diary every week, 1 hour on a Monday or Friday. We have one of our members, actually, she has a salon down in Brighton, and she does 3 hour sales training every week without fail, and it's significantly changed her business. And she's only got a team of 4, but she took this advice, said, I'm not doing 1 hour, because the more training and there's different dynamics in how you can do the training. But the good news is most of that training is mostly sharing. So you can take, maybe Susie had the most successful week or had the best client. She had one of these £1,000 clients. So she shares her experience of that. And so you've got to get the team on board, and it's got to come from them. And actually, in terms of the word motivate, although that we have to motivate people here and there, but of course it starts with the recruitment process, doesn't it? Making sure that we employ people who are already motivated. But more so than that, it's education, empowerment, encouragement, constant coaching. Have your team come to you, not the other way around. Most salon managers and owners are chasing their team. It should be the other way around. So every morning, the team come to you and they share 3 things. How was yesterday? Did they over or underperform? If they overperform, great. What was so successful about it? What can you amplify and do more of? If it was a train wreck, if you meant to do £1,000 yesterday and you did £5, that's okay. No problem. What did you learn from it? And you review yesterday, then you review the month to date, and then, because yesterday might have been a train wreck, but you're on 60% of your target and you're only 30% of the way through the month, so you're ahead. And then finally, what's your plan for today? Who's going to be so you've got 8 clients today. Who's going to be your superstar client? I've got Ryan in at 3 p.m. He's been procrastinating over making a decision. And I know that if I actually have the conversation with him, he's going to make a change. Amazing. Off you go. Have a great day. And your team come to you with that. And if they can't come to you physically, then they WhatsApp you or they have a quick call. It's a 2-minute conversation with your team every morning, but do not chase the team. Have the team, and the team will love it. They'll love it, because once they realize, I call it a powerful solution. You're not in it to sell products. You're in it to actually make a change. So you need a powerful solution or a number of powerful solutions. They can be bespoke. We don't want to make the mistake that many years ago when I first started training salons, I trained a salon out in, I won't say where, but in the UK. And they took this whole thing and they created these 3 different packages, and they put them in like hampers, and they put them on reception. And I was like, no, because you're still selling products. When people first hear about, powerful solution, that's a package. No, this is not a package. This is being dynamic, being a trusted expert. And the brilliant thing about this, and talking about therapists, how do you get them on board, other than having them come to you, is like literally your whole sales process. So where does the sale happen? The consultation. If you walk through your entire consultation process from start to finish, challenge every component of it. So for example, if you take a Salon consultation, if you want to sell at £1,000 as an example, your consultation must look at and feel and behave like £1,000 consultation. Because if the consultation is disorganized or it's like a £50 consultation, then you'll only ever get a client invest £50. That doesn't mean we roll out the red carpet by any means, but it certainly means that we follow a specific process. So yeah, so definitely create structure. As much as we may love or hate McDonald's and Starbucks, they have a phenomenal structure for getting excuse what I'm going to say, an 18-year-old, like acne, like, just geeky, like no idea, first job ever. They're 18 and they're making £70,000 a month for Starbucks, and they don't even know it because they're just following a system. And they're told at McDonald's, make sure you asked, do you want to supersize it? There's no commission for that, but they give everybody works at, well, not everybody, but the large majority of people that work at Starbucks, McDonald's talk about the training, talk about it's a great business to work for. So yeah, start quite a lot there, but start there. Start with knowing that your team are your most valuable asset. It's not some new product. The amount of salons and spas that I've walked into, and they've gone and changed their entire product range. They've switched from one company to another. And I asked, well, why did you just go and drop 35 grand on getting your first stock order? Oh, the team said that they can sell those products. I already know that that's a train wreck, because they're not going to sell it any better. Because if you can't sell what you've got, you're not going to sell something new, because you're not selling a product, you're selling an outcome.
They should have given 35 grand to you, Pete, and you could have come in and transformed that whole show.
Yeah, that was my early days. So when I first came off cruise ships, I went to help salons, and I walked into hundreds of salons in London. Every day I'd walk into all these salons and they'd kick me out, and because nobody knew me. Because if you don't have, and by the way, once you start selling a powerful solution, document it and get evidence. So Ryan Hoddy, you guys know this. So I've got dozens and dozens of case studies, video testimonials. It's all over my Academy website. I no longer actually even do when somebody joins my Academy, I no longer do the application call with the new potential member. My members do it. So I don't even do the sales process anymore. Our members take care of it. But at the beginning, when no one knew who I was, they're like, get out. And I walked into a spa. I won't say, I'll just say it's in Surrey. That's all I'm going to say, right? No further information. It was looking quite exciting because they loved the concept. They were all good to go. And then I had all these meetings, put a proposal in, and it's quite a juicy contract, helping them over a year. And by the way, I've never sold sales training. I sell sales transformation. So even the way that I teach sales, I'm not going to work with someone for a day. What's the point? And every contract that I ever got with companies, they'd say, we want a day sales train. I say, well, why? Well, because we want more sales. Well, if you want more sales, you probably need a different discussion, but the chances are it's not going to be in your budget of a day sales training. Should we have that conversation? Yeah. And then you end up with a 2-year contract. And you actually help them, and they're hugging you for it. The funny thing is, they hug you for it.
And the main benefit of that being, as you say, it's like the money is just a lovely little side benefit of it, because the benefit is they then get the result as a result of working for you for longer, just like the clients with the transformation. There's been some absolute gold today. I really hope people have listened back and scribble and get some notes, because we could talk all day. But
disappointed I no longer have a salon to get you into and get you training on my team.
Open one together.
I was going to say, I'm sure there's a TV show in there somewhere, isn't there? Probably.
Absolutely.
I will just say that the spa in Surrey, I couldn't invest in the sales training after we did everything, because they decided to buy a £18,000 fireplace for their reception.
Wow.
I wonder how much revenue that's generated for them.
I know. Well, it's burning cash.
Big old asset there. Big old asset sitting right there. Yeah, brilliant. Well, Pete, that's been ever so helpful. Thank you so much. Finally,
thanks for having me.
What's next for you?
Next is looking after our amazing Academy members. We have a community which is growing all the time and supporting each other and helping each other to be leaders in their field, and just refining that and making sure that the members are in a position where they can truly succeed, and just having fun, like having fun with this whole thing as well. And I think that's so important. There's running a business, I think we get so serious about it, and there is a serious element to it. But as you can see with my office, like we've got Slothies here and all that, and just having fun, helping as many business owners along the way, making sure that they succeed, because my success is only a reflection of their success. So continuing with that as much as possible.
Not a dissimilar journey to what we're on ourselves in many ways. Pete, it's been amazing to have this chat today. It's been super helpful, as Holly said. So thanks ever so much for the generous gift of your time today. And we will make sure we put all the links to all your various bits in the show notes. So if you're listening and you want to get a bit more of Pete in your world, then I highly recommend it, because the reason we got him on today is because he really does know his onions, and we wanted to get the best possible person to talk about sales for everyone, and that was Pete. So thank you again, Pete, and thank you everyone for listening. That's a wrap for today. So please make sure you do subscribe on iTunes, go and leave us a nice comment, go and check Pete out, and we will see you on the next episode of the Salonology Show.
Bye everyone.